Good morning, everybody. It is Monday, February the 22nd, and that means it's time for another episode of my News Radar. Before we go too much further, I want to remind you guys that this channel is community supported. Take a second and consider becoming a member by clicking the join button down below or becoming a patron on Patreon. If you can't do that, a simple like or comment will also help tremendously. Thanks. So there have been rumors for the last good while now about what Huawei would do next with their folding phone. Obviously, they already had made the Mate X, which was a really cool looking phone. Although to me, it had one major design flaw, and that was that this phone's touchscreen folded outward instead of inward, thus leaving the display exposed at all times and vulnerable to scratches and damage. As you can see in these images, it's a really cool design, and it has some perks in that the camera module being on the back allows you to not have to have a front-facing camera. If you want to take a selfie, you just flip the thing around and use the primary camera on the Huawei Mate X to take your photos. But like I said, some flaws there in that you've got that screen exposed all the time, and this is not going to be, super tough, durable, Gorilla Glass, scratch-resistant stuff. It's going to be able to be scratched relatively easily. Well, now we know what Huawei is doing to kind of alter that design. And the answer is they're doing what Samsung has done with the Z Fold line. So what we have is an exterior screen, just like on the Z Fold, and then a great big beautiful interior screen that is covered up whenever this thing is folded, allowing it to be protected much more readily. Now, interestingly enough, you don't have a selfie camera on that interior big screen. Why? Because if you're going to take a selfie, you're just going to close it and use it in phone mode. I'm actually okay with that design choice. So let's look at some of the specs here of the Mate X2, as they're calling it. You've got an 8-inch OLED main display, 2480 by 2220 resolution, 180 hertz touch polling sample rate, which means that it's going to feel really, really responsive. And a 90 hertz refresh rate, I think, is obviously better than 60. 120 will be good to see, but still 90 is quite good. The outer display is 6.45 inches, the same 90 hertz refresh rate. So there's a one-up on the Z Fold, which has a 60 hertz rate on the outside and a 120 on the inside. So maybe there's a balance there, maybe not. And then a 240 hertz polling rate on that exterior screen. So an even more responsive experience outside. Power in the phone, you've got the Kirin 9000 chip, which is a 5 nanometer chip. These things are actually pretty darn impressive. 8 gigs of RAM and up to 512 gigs of storage. The Z Fold, of course, does go higher in the RAM count, I believe up to 12 gigs. As for the cameras on the back side, which Huawei's camera modules tend to be very impressive and very well done. You've got a 50 megapixel main sensor, 16 megapixel ultra wide, and a 12 megapixel telephoto with a 3x optical and an 8 megapixel periscope lens with a 10x optical zoom. So you've got a really nice array of cameras in terms of hardware. It remains to be seen what the actual pictures will look like when the software takes care of them, but the hardware is definitely great. A 10x periscope zoom. I mean, this thing is pretty damn solid. A 4500 milliamp hour battery and 55 watt fast charging. Now, it's really important to keep in mind that this is a Huawei phone, so Google services will not be available out of the box. There may be some hacky things you can do later if you do decide to buy the device. And if you do decide to buy the device, you're going to be paying, that's right, damn near $3,000. $2,800 for the 256 and $2,940. This is, again, after the exchange rate for the 512 version. Now, they are claiming the ability to fold this thing over in a much more flat way without creating a crease. And as you can see in this clip here, when it is folded shut, it's actually pretty much folded flush flat because of this little looping kind of bend that they're doing there. Really impressive. That's something that the Z Fold is not doing. You've always got that gap in between when it's folded shut. Well, not on the Mate X2. As you can see there, a comparison between the Mate X2 and the Z Fold 2. You can see exactly what I'm talking about when I mentioned that gap. They're also claiming that you're not going to be able to perceive a crease down the middle as well. That, again, remains to be seen long term if that crease does begin to show up. But at the end of the day, the Mate X2 looks really impressive. It's a shame what's gone on with Huawei. I wish that this was a phone company that the world could 100% trust, have no reservations with, and we could import here to the United States and use Google services and all those great things. But unfortunately, that's the world that we do live in. So let's keep talking about wild, crazy phone designs. The one that I think I am most excited about is this sort of rolling, sliding out phone design that Oppo has shown off, and we have finally some proper hands-on footage of this device. If you don't know what I'm talking about, this is Oppo's X 2021 concept device. And what this thing does is it has the ability to be a normal phone until you hit a button or swipe on the side. It's hard to tell exactly what's happening. And then the screen, which is rolled into the body and around, will slide out, revealing more screen. And the result is no crease, a normal phone form factor, a little bit thinner form factor, and it looks like magic. You can see in any of these clips here, when it is changing from size to size, it looks unbelievably smooth. It honestly just looks fake. And the cool thing that we have here is that we've got some people on the YouTubes who have had hands-on this device. Now, these people, unfortunately, aren't speaking English, so I don't know exactly what's being said, but we've got some footage to look at. Personally, I think that the design on the back of this thing is quite nice. This accordion-style mechanism sliding in and out just looks absolutely incredible. Hitting that spot on the side, and there it goes, shrinking in like magic. I really like the design of it, to be honest. And of course, seeing it from the front makes it look even more like magic. I'd love to know what you guys think about this particular design. Please leave a comment down below if this is something that you think is interesting. Personally, I can see a lot of use cases here in that, you know, the idea of having a tablet on the go when you need one, or a phone when you don't need that tablet, makes a ton of sense to me. And having something that I don't have to worry about folding and creases appearing, something that should theoretically be more durable in the sense that it's not creasing like that. It's got fewer moving parts. Granted, it is a motor, but we've seen motors like this in pop-up selfie cameras, and I don't have a lot of reservations in terms of those motors. It should be able to last the lifetime of the device just fine. The price, obviously going to be very high. We don't actually know if this particular Oppo model is going to be released to the public or not just yet. LG's working on something similar. Whether or not they're going to survive long enough to release it is another question. Samsung is also rumored to be working on something like this, as is TCL. So there will be a rollable phone on the market before too much longer, and I personally cannot wait. We've also seen devices that have been able to, you know, roll out into different sizes. So not just in and out, but a mid-range thing. So potentially you could go from, you know, 2x1 to 16x9 to 3x2 and have, you know, 3 different form factors essentially in one footprint, which is something that a folding device simply cannot do. So you can imagine having it in 2x1 normal phone mode, go out to 16x9 to watch a movie or a television show, a video in a really nice, beautiful aspect ratio, no black bars, anything like that. And then go to full 3x2 for productivity mode, where you can have 2 apps open at once and do all sorts of fun things like that. And last but not least, we've got some hidden code in Android 12 that points towards some things we might be able to expect out of the Pixel 6. This article on Phone Arena goes into the details here. They have found all sorts of cool things in here, like the idea of unlocking your phone, making it a breeze with Face Unlock, unlocking your phone in your pocket, fingerprint, which is really interesting because, as you remember, the Pixel 4 had a proper Face Unlock array with all the dot projectors and things like that, but they dropped that for the Pixel 5. So might Face Unlock be making a return for the Pixel 6, but might the Pixel 6 also have a fingerprint scanner? Personally, I'm cool with having both as long as I can choose. I don't like Face Unlock. It's not something that really does anything for me. Just put a fingerprint scanner in the display, and if you want to use Face Unlock, well, boom, there it is. Put it in there as well. Although I'm going to need you to do it without a giant forehead on the top of the screen like you did with the Pixel 4. You got to do a little bit better than that, because that thing was ugly. There are also rumors that Apple is working on the return of Touch ID, especially in this current world where we all wear masks a lot of the time out in public. Face Unlock makes less and less sense. I've never thought Face Unlock made a ton of sense when you have a fingerprint and your phone is in your hand. Just use your fingerprint but whatever. People want to do crazy things. But if you have both, that might be a cool mixture of the two. You can use face unlock, whichever's quicker, whichever one's more convenient. If they're both there, great. I've got no problem with that. What do you guys think about face unlock versus touch ID? Do you have a preference between the two? I suspect you might prefer the fingerprint scanner, but I'd love to know what you guys think in the comments down below. So guys, that's all the news I have for you today. Be sure to check back every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the next news radar. And until next time, stay nerdy, my friend.